I can explain. I'm not planning on doing this every day, of course. That would be crazy. Um, but I got really excited about this idea, and it's one of the motivating factors of why I'm even doing this thing where I'm talking at nothing, of, what I'm going through. Starting to go to therapy, I think, is really, really, really hard. It is extremely difficult for a lot of people. I didn't mention this in the last video because I just kind of forgot it, but I also have generalized anxiety disorder, and we're going to get to that a whole bunch more later. I've got some things floating around in there for that, but what it means is that I have a really hard time with especially new things. I have a hard time with a lot of things, but new things are completely out of my control. I can't predict things. I can't make plans like A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I can't do that. So it's very, very hard for me to start something new. I actually had a panic attack the first day of my new job. And I only live like 2 minutes from there, but that's enough time, turns out. You can absolutely have a panic attack in 2 minutes without trying. Things are really hard for me to do. I first wanted to do online therapy, which wasn't really that, it was it was available, but it was not as prominent as it is now. And part of that was because I thought it would be easier to distance myself from it, I think. I wouldn't feel so vulnerable. Because I've done both of them now because of the pandemic, and it's definitely not the same connection. It's all right. And some people are probably really going to prefer it, which is a-okay. But I personally prefer my in-office sessions. So the first thing that you have to do is decide you want to go to therapy. That can be in and of itself a challenge. There are a lot of things that are in your brain, in society, in our culture. They're going to tell you that you shouldn't do that. And not because it's a bad thing, but because in a lot of ways, therapy and healing, it's kind of gotten the stigma that like only really fucked up people need to go to therapy. First of all, yes, they should. 100%. But it's not just for really, really fucked up people. It is for people in crisis, people that just aren't sure how they're supposed to be doing this life that we're living. It's for grief. It's for changing the season of your life. Getting older can be something that's kind of hard to wrap your head around. It's for if your kids are getting older. It's for anything. You're getting a new job. You aren't sure that your marriage is the greatest. There's just so many things that you can go to therapy for. I've seen this really, really good picture on the internet. And if I had the ability to like put little pictures up right now, I would totally do it. But it's basically a person sitting in a chair, and there's like 3 different colors of yarn that's their thought bubble. And it's very tangled, very chaotic looking. You can see there's different colors, but there's no pattern, there's no rhyme. It's just chaos. And then across from them is sitting a person, and above them is 3 balls of yarn. And the strings of thought are going from this chaos to these organized balls of yarn. And that's really a lot of what therapy kind of does. It puts the thoughts that you're having into a better order that is logical. A lot of the particular therapy that I go through is learning. We talked about a little bit yesterday, triggers and defense mechanisms. But also it really focuses on self-language and how you respond to the things that happen. When I said yesterday that I was giving myself a victory for how I had handled the day before, I don't think it was perfect or flawless. I think that it was hard, and I didn't quit. I didn't beat myself up about it. I didn't feel bad. It didn't weigh me down. That's a victory. So deciding to go to therapy is really the first it's the first step. It's the first best thing you can do. And, it's a struggle, but I really think everyone could benefit from it. So if you do it, you're going to be better for it. Anyhow, the next thing you need to do is pick a therapist. Oh boy, that's so fun. There's so many of them. The resource that I have used and I have recommended using is Psychology Today. You can put in your zip code and it will pull up only the therapists that have participated in it. So it's by no means inclusive, and you can definitely just do some Google searches on your own. What I liked about Psychology Today is you can see kind of a snippet of the person, how they talk. Usually there's a picture. You can see the kinds of therapy that they're trained in, not only the different methods of therapy, but in particular the things that they have experience with. So, just because somebody's a therapist does not mean that it's marriage counseling. That's a completely different little area. My particular therapist is really good with kids. I had this kind of gut feeling that a lot of the things that I was struggling with probably were from childhood, I guess. So it felt kind of like a match. However, the first therapist that I had, that's right, more than one, I liked their profile. It was close to the job that I had at that point, so I sent an email message, which is the bonus, and not all of them do it, but both of the therapists that I've gone to, you can actually just email them instead of calling, because generalized anxiety disorder, making phone calls is the worst. So I didn't have to jump over that hurdle of vulnerability and discomfort, because email is so much less personal. It's easier to form your words when you can write them instead of having to say them out loud. So that was really beneficial to me. I really appreciated both of them doing that. The other thing that I learned, and this was not a fun lesson to learn, is that sometimes you and your therapist, you just aren't a match. I'm sure that the first one I went to has probably helped a lot of people. It wasn't me. And this brings a couple of different problems, because one, I kind of thought like, oh my God, I'm so fucked up that I can't be helped. It's not, because I went for months and nothing changed. There was no progress. I didn't feel better. I didn't feel good. I felt like I kept saying things that weren't being interpreted and then getting sort of repetition back at me. It did not fit. It was not good. And I didn't realize at the time, and it's very common sense. This makes so much sense if you think about it. But therapists are first and foremost people. I don't like everybody. I don't click with everybody. There's no reason that I am going to click with my therapist. I mean, you will eventually if you get the right one. But you should kind of think of the first session as like a blind date almost. Like you don't really know anything about them. But you're on the look, trying to get some healing or whatever. So you want to approach it not as a commitment of some sort, but as a, hey, do I think you're cool? Do you think I'm cool? And I've heard this over and over again, but it is not how I felt. Your therapist will not take it personally if it's not working. I definitely did not act that way when I was leaving my first one. I came up with kind of an excuse and then I just never went back. Sorry. But I didn't have the voice, I think, at that point to really let them know that it just wasn't. I didn't want to have to explain myself or why it wasn't working. It wasn't. So I got back into the saddle again. Whoo, yeah, here we go. And so I picked another person that I thought could work. I definitely connected with her profile more. I felt a little bit more at ease with the things that she advocated for, because, they, again, on the side panel, they say, this is a safe space for all these different kinds of problems and people. And so I felt more like that was a better match for me. So I went to the second one, but at this point, all I really had for reference was the first one, who absolutely did not work and took a lot of time to figure that out. So not only did I have to do a really hard thing again, I had to do it with a really bad experience in my pocket to push me forward. It was really hard. I keep saying that, but it's really hard. So the first time that I went in to my current therapist's office, she actually later said that I was vibrating, which I believe. Again, anxiety, so much of it. And, as we talked, I felt a little bit more comfortable. I would not say that I felt comfortable at all the first session. Probably not the first 7 sessions, honestly. It's really, 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 really hard to expose yourself to somebody that is a trained professional, but you don't know them. Not really. So, you jump over the hurdle of saying, yes, I want to do this. And then you jump over the hurdle of saying, oh, there's a person that I can go to. And then you jump over the hurdle of getting there and doing it. And then after that is when kind of the actual hard work starts. I hate to tell you that. I mean, the other parts are much more terrifying, and they're much more, at the time, they feel more intense. They feel really intense. But it's short-lived. What I'm kind of going through right now, and again, not everybody's experience, not everybody has done this or has this, I guess. The experience that I've had, the person that I've become, the mechanisms that I have, they're actually called neurodiversive, I think. I know there's neurotypical because a lot of people are that one. Neurodivergent. Basically, especially when you've experienced trauma, your brain rewires itself. So your thinking and your actions aren't typical. They are atypical. So that's a lot of what we work on, is trying to rewire in ways, but it's more recognizing the patterns of when things are happening and how I can, change the words in my head to make it not seem so hard, which it's helpful. I'll tell you that. I definitely do not beat myself up the same way I used to. One of my core beliefs is that everything is my fault. If something goes wrong, it must have been something that I did, or as a direct reaction to my presence, which is really, that's so stupid. I mean, what a dumb thing to think. What a dumb way to live. Like the world revolves around me. But it doesn't feel like that. It doesn't feel like that at all. It just, if I can find a way to make something my fault, oh boy, am I gonna do it. And it's a hard thing to live with, obviously. That doesn't, even as like, if I were sitting there listening to this, I'd be like, God, that sucks. Yeah, it sucks, but that's why I'm going to therapy. So we work on that a lot. We're just now diving into the PTSD portion of it. So there's going to probably be a section on that later. When I talked about last time how I dissociate all the time, I can't even remember. Like I can't accept that one into me. My brain is so defensive of me that it won't let me understand it, which is really hard for me to do because that's how I process. I need to understand things. Once I understood the anxiety and what was happening and why, it got really, not easy, but much easier to notice the things that were going on, and I could integrate them, with work and failures. But I can't seem to do that with the PTSD. So that's a tricky one. And so we're basically going to be starting the hard therapy sessions again. One of the other things that's kind of nice about having like a good relationship with your therapist, and this is how you might know that they're the one for you, is a good therapist is going to pick up what you're walking in with, and meet you at that level. Sometimes the plan for me will be to go into the deeper layers of, pain, suffering, and I just can't do it. That was Tuesday, actually. I couldn't do it. That felt bad. But it's not what I needed at the time. I didn't need to add more onto what was already a really hard day. And again, I don't feel like I failed, but it's not a nice thing to look at sometimes. So your therapist is going to meet you where you're at, and they're going to try to bring you to a good place before going to the next place, which is really nice. We were supposed to be diving into the PTSD because I have such a handle on my anxiety, obviously, but that just isn't what happened. So we're probably going to get into it next Tuesday. And I don't know when I'm going to make another one of these videos, because again, I really wasn't planning on doing one today, but this feels really important to me. And I don't think a lot of things are really important. So, take that for what it's worth, I guess. But yeah, if you have any questions, or if you feel like I only half explained something, you are welcome to leave a comment, or I don't know if you can message on YouTube. I don't know how. This is all new to me. I don't know how it works. I do have an email that I set up, because I needed one in order to make a YouTube that wasn't associated with my real name, because I'm not that person. So it's ourbittersweetsympathy@gmail.com. Bittersweet sympathy was taken, so whoever that was, fuck you. But I made it work. It's fine. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Sorry for that little bit of there. There's probably gonna be more of that. Buckle up, I guess. And again, thank you for listening, and if you have any questions, let me know, or if there's anything that you feel like it would be cool for me to talk about, also let me know that, because I'm pretty interested in what other people are needing to hear, or needing to just have somebody say out loud, because that's really important to have conversations. I do have a Google form that I made where a lot of people filled in sort of the things that they were kind of looking for. I'm going to go through that again a couple times and pick out things for later stuff. I think right now I'm kind of focused on the me of the moment. Probably not for much longer, honestly. I'm not that interesting. But yeah, so feel free to ask questions. Let me know anything that you'd like to hear about. Again, from a non-professional, completely opinion-based experience, opinion-based stuff. That's all. So, all right. Thank you for listening.